Hey guys, so for this video, I am going to give you all an introductory lesson to telling time. But before we can know how to tell time, we need to know what the parts of a clock are and how there are different types of clocks. So there are different types of clocks. There are analog clocks and digital clocks. This, what I'm holding right now, is an analog clock. It is where you see numbers going around in a circle and you have these little arrows that move around. You have seen an analog clock in our classroom before. Maybe you have one hanging up on your wall at your house. And then there are digital clocks. Digital clocks are when there are no hands and it just shows the numbers, such as on a there you can kind of see it. There was a glare on a cell phone. Right now, my cell phone is showing it is 3:44. So that would be a digital clock. On someone's watch, I'm wearing a watch right now. It's showing me what the time is on a digital clock. There are no hands that move around in a circle like this on an analog clock. But reading time on a digital clock is a lot easier than an analog clock. So I'm going to teach you guys just the parts of an analog clock and their purpose before we learn how to tell time. So now that we know that this is an analog clock, one part that you need to know about this clock is this whole circular part is called the face of the clock. On the face of the clock, there are 12 numbers that go around the face of the clock in order. You will notice that 12 is on the top of the clock and 6 is on the bottom of the clock. These are called hands. They look like little arrows, but they're called hands. Even though they don't look like an actual hand, we call them hands, and they point to the numbers on the clock, such as this. There is a short hand because it's shorter than the other, and then there is a long hand. The short hand is what we call the hour hand because it points to the hour. The long hand is what we call the minute hand because it points to the minute on the clock, the minutes on the clock. So as the minute hand, let's get our clock to start all the way back up at the top where both hands are pointing to the 12. Watch as I move the minute hand all the way around the clock. See what the little short hand, see where that hand moves. It's the red one. All right, so I'm going to move the minute hand all the way around the entire clock. Notice what happens to the short hand. The short hand moved from 12 to 1. It moved to the next number. So as the minute hand is moving around the clock, the hour hand is also moving as well. But is it moving just as fast as the minute hand? No, it moves a lot slower because as the minute hand is going all the way around the clock and making all these jumps past all these numbers, the hour hand is only moving to the next number. So the hour hand moves a lot slower. And the last thing I want to share with you all is that the hands always move in the same direction. So they always move around the clock this way. We call that clockwise, jumping from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The hands do not go backwards. That would be called counterclockwise, but they do not move backwards on the clock. So now you know all the main parts of the clock. Remember the circular part where all the numbers are, that's called the face of the clock. There are 2 hands on a clock. The short one is called the hour hand because it points to the hour and it tells you what hour it is. And the long hand is called the minute hand because it points to the minute. So those are all the main parts of a clock. Before we end this lesson, I want you guys to think about why is it important to be able to read a clock? Well, we know that being able to read a clock tells us what time it is. So I want you guys to think about why it is important to be able to tell time. I can think of a few right now. If we were not able to tell time, we would not know when we need to be uh, to places on time, such as school. We need to be able to read a clock so we know what time we need to be at school. We have alarm clocks that wake us up in the morning to make sure we wake up on time to get ready. Time is so important so that we can get where we need to be at the time that we need to be. We wouldn't want to be late for school, or if we have a soccer game, those usually start at a certain time. And you have to know the time so that you're not late and you don't miss it. So there's lots of reasons why time is important. I want you guys to be thinking about that. And for the next video, now that we know the parts of a clock, I'm going to show you all how we can read a clock and be able to tell time on an analog clock. All right, thanks for tuning in. I hope to hear from you all soon. All right, bye guys.